I'm in Philadelphia, bro.
I know what you guys are expecting.
Yeah.
Essen.
Essen.
As I said last week,
Yeah.
that if they lost this game, Essen Funk, also known as Supernatural Funk, will be joining them on the flight from LA back to Philly. But while he tried, they wouldn't let him on the plane.
Oh. Big Dom.
I am not Big Dom, Jalen, AJ, all of them left. They kept him off. I am not ready to say that they are about to go in this funk that they went in 2 years ago. Here's why. One, I just don't think they're quite there. I'm not getting that feel yet. Obviously, the offense isn't playing well. But two, the schedule.
True.
You've seen the schedule. Next up is Nick Wright's Las Vegas Raiders. Everybody's get right game.
True.
All right? And then they got the Commanders who just got walloped by the Vikings twice.
Yep.
So I think they're going to
Bills
beat the
gave up
Raiders
34 points.
and they're going to beat the Commanders twice and go 3-1 at least on the way out. But at worst, they're going 2-2. I just
Well, if they go 2-2, they might miss the playoffs.
possibly if Dallas obviously
wins out.
But I think they're going to go 3-1. Now, if they lose to the Raiders at home next week, then the funk is here.
You told me I was
but
excited for it to be back.
I read the situation.
You
now.
knew this schedule when you told us.
Still. I will say this. They are obviously S-Bob as the defending champ.
Thank you.
And for those obviously Eagles fans that want them to win the Super Bowl again, I mean, I haven't thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. I picked the Packers in the NFC, but I see nothing to think that with this offense, they're going to win the NFC.
Well, then that's why.
So I will give them that. But I think panic is, oh my gosh, the Cowboys are about to catch them and leave them out of the playoffs.
So here's why.
And then if they get to the tournament, which I think you still think they will, again, I wouldn't pick them, but do they have a shot to win a couple games?
Here's why I disagree with you. Because even the year of the famous Supernatural Funk, they made the playoffs.
Yeah, but they lost what, 6
They
or
lost
7?
5 of 6 down the. They lost 5 of 6 down the stretch, but here's the problem with even your potentially rosy scenario, if you will. If you throw that schedule back up, yes, you're right. Maybe they could go into the playoffs having won 3 of 4. Because I think if they go 2-2, I think there's a very good chance they're just out of the postseason.
But you think they're going 3-4?
Washington, I thought with Jaden back was
right.
going to look different. Instead, Jaden got hurt again, and so
their morale's got to be low.
They have 3 games left against 2 or 3 win teams, so that's really in their favor. But what you're saying is they lose to Buffalo, right? So that would mean they go into the playoffs having not beaten a quality team since early November, right?
Week 11.
Week 11.
Detroit.
And the other reason to panic is, and this is why I'm surprised you're not, is we were talking about if they lose the game and not writing the script with how they lost it, it might be panic time. Not only did they lose, they lost it, in my opinion, in the most damaging way imaginable, which was all of their massive offensive issues that have been percolating all year, but have been tamped down because they weren't turning the ball over, come to a head because of a cartoonish amount of turnovers. Despite that, they are able to get to overtime. They are able to get to where they're a huge favorite. Well, I mean, no, I'm saying huge favorite. When you have down 3 and you're at the 15 and 1st and 10 in that moment, you're never supposed to lose. Because a tie for them also, because Dallas has a tie, it's not great, but it's better than a loss, obviously. And for on 1st and 10 to lose the game the way they did, whatever simmering issues there have been in the locker room about the performance of the offense, those come to a head now.
Yeah. So we're going to do this in a couple different ways because I believe I'm doing this all live in real time. I believe they're going to have a focused conversation on Jalen Hurts later on in the show. That's my guess. So I'm going to keep the conversation about Jalen separate Because this is now just about the Eagles, and then based on how they do their show, I assume they're going to say, is Jalen Hurts the problem, whether they're going to do it within the next half hour or the next hour, however they officially do it. So I'm going to refrain from talking too heavily about Jalen Hurts and take it more in the direction that they kind of just, took everything. Because Nick is now saying that he's really concerned about how they lost and all the turnovers and this, that, and the third. And it's like, this is what I said when the Seattle Seahawks, I always want to say Seattle Supersonics. Seattle Seahawks had all those turnovers. Sam Darn had all those interceptions, and the game was still close. And I'm like, well, that's a bit of an outlier. Like, that's a weird situation to really evaluate that game. And they were still a field goal away from winning. And now the Eagles had a comical amount of turnovers from a quarterback who simply does not turn the ball over that much. We know that that's not his game. If he had been turning the ball, if he was a quarterback that was like playing like Geno Smith where he was just kept turning the ball over and then he had a game like this, then you would say, well, this is clearly a problem. But I don't believe that to be a continued problem, and yet they were still right there. Colin Cowherd, for instance, as the Chargers as a top 9 team. And the Eagles were in the position to win that game in overtime on the road, even though they turned the ball over just, 4 times, 5? I forget what the final number ended up officially being, especially because he had the one weird, extra turnover, which obviously got tagged to Jalen. He threw the interception, then there was a fumble, then the ball was right back in his hands. He, got it, and then immediately got, rocked. If that wasn't a touchdown pass in the end zone for the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know how we can really attribute that fumble to Jalen, but it is what it is. So, I'm really looking at it more at clearly those 4 interceptions. The one interception was just an unbelievable play by the defense at overtime. I think it was a terrible play call. I think the execution was wrong, and we can talk about that later when we're talking specifically about Jalen Hurts, but that was just like a hat tip to the defense there. That was unbelievable. And the other one was A.J. Brown doesn't catch that ball, and, Troy Aman ripped him. And again, these are all things that I'll unfortunately have to repeat a little bit, but I have a much more deeper dive that I did a little bit with the herd earlier in the day that I want to follow up with for this. But you had a couple of those things that you can't really bank on. And then you had 2 bad decisions by Jalen that were straight up interceptions, and yet the game was still right there. The game was absolutely in a spot for them to win. So I don't think it's officially panic time. It's definitely officially, and it's been officially not feel great time. And the Eagles' expectations are to get to a Super Bowl and even win a Super Bowl. But coaching is such a fundamental problem. And again, I'll talk about this more. I don't mean to keep pushing my take down the road. But the problem is why you feel more uncomfortable and why you would panic even more is because can coaching actually solve this right now? This is such a coaching issue. Their game plan was so terrible. Their game management was so terrible. And it is square on the shoulders of coaching. But if they're able to kind of get this right, even just if even just 40% better than what they're doing, 30% better, if they just reach this point where they're just enough. We're not listening to this coach. We're not listening to Covino. We're running the ball as much as we want. Whatever it is, right? And they just reach a point where they're just they reach some sort of breaking point where, and even Jalen's just whatever, man. I'm just letting it rip all over the field. I'm just going back to what I know. I'm running more. Jalen's enough. I'm running more. I don't know. There's some short sort of shift. Tank Bigsby starts to get the ball more. Saquon gets the ball more. There's just some shift, even though you would have expected to have already seen it, but maybe it now finally happens. Again, who really knows? The defense is good enough, especially from a coaching perspective, that if they do get in the playoffs, the way how I'm seeing these other teams play, the way how we've seen the Eagles beat the Rams, beat the Packers, beat the Lions, there's still reason to believe. there's still reason to believe where in 2023 you were really holding on to, well, you have a lot of these great players. They were in the Super Bowl last year. Maybe they can just find some magic. Maybe they could go on a run and get hot at the right time. But they were losing to terrible teams. They were playing bad. Jalen wasn't playing well. The defense was awful. They didn't have what they have. They weren't Super Bowl winners. They didn't have that confidence. They didn't have Fangio. They didn't have Cooper DeYoung and, you know, Bond and Mitchell. Like they just didn't have that energy there. Jalen Hurts didn't have the same level of confidence and success. So I do think it's different. And so I do understand what Brew is saying. Again, there's no call for true optimism, right? There's no call like the way how they kept joking, Nick and Brew throughout the course of the season, the tackle that turned the tide. And now I think everything's fine. When Nick going into the Texans game and he was like, I'm not worried at all, you know? And things of that nature where Bruce, like, you know, he had the box and he kept, you know, taking out more toys, like the robes, whatever the heck he was doing, right? Like, there's no reason for any of that with this team, to be very clear, right? There's no like, I actually feel really good about this. The Chargers are a top team in the NFL, and the Eagles were close to them. If Jalen only turns the ball over half the amount, they win the game. Therefore, they're great. Look at all the sacks they had on the Chargers and blah, 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 blah. Saquon finally ripped off a big run. I'm not concerned. This is great and dandy. Just wait until the playoffs. I expect that they're going to crush the Commanders and the Raiders and the blah, blah, blah. I bet they'll even beat the Bills. Like, that is not to take either. But in a season that has been so crazy for seemingly every single team out there, in a lot of weird ways, it's par for the course for 2025. The big thing is, though, with any of these other teams that have had also weird seasons, you can look to the greatness of coaching or the greatness of some individual players, like a Josh Allen just putting the Bills on his back, like a Matt LaFleur being an elite coach, Sean McVay being an elite coach, McVay being an elite, right? The Houston Texans having a truly elite defense. The Texans, people are high on the Texans right now. Colin has them as like top 8 or something, or top 7, and it's like, if the Kansas City Chiefs didn't drop a bunch of those balls, do the Texans lose? Maybe there's a great chance of that, right? Kelsey comes down with that. If he just doesn't flick it in the air, it could still be a bad throw, not a great throw. And Mahomes could be, have 50% of the blame for that interception. But didn't need to be an interception. It could have just been a miss and F. Bump fumbles it, and then it, bobbles it, and then it just crashes to the ground, right? That changes everything, right? And so, that's why you always got to be careful with some of the conclusions that you draw. Again, there's no strong reason to feel great about the Eagles, to feel confident in the Eagles, to feel this just like, you know what, I woke up and I'm feeling optimistic about them. But I do think that there is, silver lining is not the right word, but like a glimmer of hope and a reason for this locker room also to not feel like they're, like Brew was saying, where like, what Jalen was saying, what AJ was saying and whatnot. Like, also AJ now knows that he made some mistakes, that he messed up. I mean, he dropped the touchdown pass. He, caused the interception. He dropped another pass. Like, he knows he's part of the blame now. So he can't just look at everyone else in this moment. Jalen Hurts knows that he needs to play better. I think about the team itself. That's all there is to say. And for the Jalen Hurts clip, we'll do a lot more deep dive into the actual game plan, the mistakes the Eagles made, Jalen Hurts, the passing game, the run game, all that stuff. I put together some things that I think make a lot of sense that I really want to share with you all. Like I did a bunch of it for the herd, but I got some more to dig deep into. And I'm curious, and I'm sure Nick and company will have some really positive thoughts for Jalen. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think it's time to panic and that the Eagles could miss the playoffs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.